After almost an year of despair, we finally have a vaccine against this COVID-19 virus. Although this wasn't the toughest phase of this pandemic, administering the vaccine to every corner of this world is easier said than done. In fact, when the first vaccine for smallpox was discovered in 1798, it wasn't until 1980 that we could address the world as smallpox free. As a rhetoric, we can say that India is the leader in vaccine production, but not in administering them to its infants. Out of the 2.6 crore children born in India, only 61% receive all the due vaccines. But on the flip side, India has seen success in eradicating polio. All vaccination triumphs starts by the discovery of the vaccine. Talking about discovering vaccines, let's time travel back to around 3000 years. Many believe that smallpox originated in either India or Egypt in this time period. We request the Indians and Egyptians to not feel bad about it, as these were most probably the only notable civilizations at that time period. Greek historian Thucydides in 430 BCE distinguished smallpox from measles. Razis aka Muhammad ibn Zakaria al-Razi, a Persian polymath in 1910 CE, reported that people once infected by smallpox were somehow protected from the future infections. However, in India, the best recorded cases of smallpox was in Goa in 1545, where an estimated 8,000 children died. For this reason, historians and physicians sometimes refer to smallpox as the Indian plague. And it begs the obvious question that if we knew about smallpox not causing an infection for the second time in the same person, then how come we couldn't utilize this knowledge anytime sooner? As a matter of fact, even before Edward Jenner discovered a viable method to help eradicate smallpox, he was not the first to find a possible way to prevent smallpox infections. Even before vaccination, people found a way to get immunity against smallpox, and that was achieved through a process called variolation. And variolation meant that people would get inoculated with smallpox material to protect themselves from the disease. An English farmer and cattle breeder named Benjamin Justy almost discovered the first smallpox vaccine in 1774. Benjamin conducted this experiment by inoculating his wife and 2 children with cowpox matter. Anything for science, isn't it? And it was 22 years later, Edward Jenner made such a similar observation and thus officially discovered the smallpox vaccine by publishing his work titled as An Inquiry into the Causes and Effects of Variolae Vaccinae in 1798. As the new vaccination method to prevent smallpox had no serious risks, it quickly started spreading throughout the world. The smallpox vaccines started to reach India within 4 years after its discovery. Thus, the year 1802 marked the beginning of vaccination in India. On June 14th of 1802, a 3-year-old child from Mumbai named Anna Dustall was the first person to get vaccinated in India. The vaccine was made from the lymph tissue of cows, and it travelled from Bombay to different cities like Pune, Chennai and Hyderabad. The Indian medical services at that time took special efforts to popularize the vaccine, and as we can guess easily that public uptake was really low. The reasons were that there was a small fee charged for vaccination. Tikadars who were involved in variolation in fear of losing their jobs created an organized opposition. And some general misconceptions like it was the wrath of the goddess who brought the disease, and clearly they didn't want to challenge their own goddess. In the initial years, all the vaccine lymph came from England. Traveling vaccinators in India were not paid by the government, so they took a small fee, which decreased the vaccine's reach to poor and rural areas. To counter this problem, government started to provide license and a small salary to the vaccinators. By 1850, the vaccine coverages started to face new challenges. Post-vaccination deaths, post-operative complications, unsuccessful vaccines, and some Hindus avoiding it because it came from the cows. The vaccines were being provided in 2 methods. One was through public clinics and charitable funds. The other popular Bombay system of vaccination started in 1827 and later spread to almost 2/3 of Indian provinces. In 1892, a bill was passed called the Compulsory Vaccination Act, which was implemented in 80% of British India districts, at least on the records, by 1938. After 1850, the demand for vaccines started rising rapidly. And as the vaccines came from England, transportation problems resulted in shortage. And this shortage led to research in finding alternatives. In Bombay, the research had started early as 1832. And in Chennai, it started at 1879. And by 1880, we started getting the initial success. Once the manufacturing was complete, preservation became an issue. In 1895, glycerin was used as the preservative. Lanolin and Vaseline were also used sometimes. By 1925, boric acid became the best option. During the cholera epidemic in Bengal and other parts of India, the British government recommended Dr. Hofkind to the government of India to conduct cholera vaccine trials in India. And in 1893, he conducted trials in Agra and other parts of Uttar Pradesh and proved its efficiency. After the cholera epidemic, a plague epidemic had started in India in 1896. In the same year, an Epidemic Act was passed which is applicable till today. Government of India requested Dr. Hofkind to work on the plague vaccine by providing him a 2-room setup in Grand Medical College, Mumbai for his laboratory. He developed a plague vaccine in 1897 and which could arguably be the first vaccine developed in India. After this, the lab was called Plague Laboratory since 1899, which was renamed as Bombay Bacteriological Lab in 1905 and then as Hofkind Institute in 1925 till today. By the end of 19th century, India started observing remarkable advancements in vaccine manufacturing. There will be another episode where we describe India's journey from being a country which merely provided humans for trial of England's vaccines in the 19th century to becoming the world's leading vaccine manufacturer by the 21st century. Thank you for watching this video. Take care of yourselves until we come up with some more minutes of science.